We just covered Trump's assaults against pro-Palestine speech, and now we're going to see some new threats against Palestine itself. So this made some news here. Exclusive U.S. holding secret talks with Hamas. So this made a lot of news because obviously they are a designated terrorist organization, and the policy of the United States is that you're not supposed to talk with organizations like that. And so this question was raised to Caroline Leavitt, the Trump press secretary. And let's see what she had to say about this.
If the U.S. has a longstanding policy that we do not negotiate with terrorists, then why is the U.S. now negotiating directly and for the first time ever with Hamas?
Well, when it comes to the negotiations that you're referring to, first of all, the special envoy who's engaged in those negotiations does have the authority to talk to anyone. Israel was consulted on this matter. And look, dialogue and talking to people around the world to do what's in the best interest of the American people is something that the president has proven is what he believes is good faith effort to do what's right for the American people.
Is it just about the hostages, or are they also talking about the president's plan to take over Gaza?
These are ongoing talks and discussions. I am not going to detail them here. There are American lives at stake. I would defer you to the Department of State for further details, but I'm not going to get into those talks here at this point.
All right. So, at first that seemed kind of maybe a little bit hopeful that, hey, if you're negotiating with both the sides, maybe that demonstrates, a commitment to peace that we didn't know was there. But like all good news coming from Trump world, it was fleeting. It left as fast as it went. So here's Dave DeCamp from antiwar.com. Trump threatens there will be hell to pay if Hamas doesn't release all the hostages immediately. Notice what he says towards the end, addressing the people of Gaza, warning they will be, quote unquote, dead if they hold hostages. So here's Trump's entire tweet here. Shalom Hamas means hello and goodbye. You can choose. Release all of the hostages now, not later, and immediately return all of the dead bodies of the people you murdered, or it is over for you. Only sick and twisted people keep bodies, and you are sick and twisted. I am sending Israel everything it needs to finish the job. Not a single Hamas member will be safe if you don't do as I say. I have just met with your former hostages whose lives you have destroyed. This is your last warning. For the leadership, now is the time to leave Gaza while you still have a chance. Also, to the people of Gaza. So, see, he makes a very clear distinction there. To the people of Gaza, a beautiful future awaits, but not if you hold hostages. If you do, you are dead in big capital letters. Make a smart decision. Release the hostages now, or there will be hell to pay later. Signed, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Wow. So let's see some reactions to this. Here's Marco Rubio, who, when you're going to talk like this, bad time to get a sideways cross for Ash Wednesday. Whoever did that, whoever did your cross there, you got to, when it looks sideways, isn't that like pagan? Isn't that antichrist stuff? I know the upside down cross is bad, but that's a sideways cross because the vertical line is going horizontal. No good. Believe me, not good. So,
I think he's signaling his affiliation with the Manson family. Actually,
yeah, maybe it looks a little that cross is a little off there, a little off. So here is Rubio responding to Trump's tough talk.
Waiting for a long time in this country to have the kind of leadership with that kind of clarity. People don't realize the president meets with these people. He hears their stories. He's outraged, and rightfully so. He's tired of watching these videos every weekend where hostages that are emaciated are released and bodies are turned over, and sometimes it's the wrong bodies, and this 5 here and 3 there, and there's games that are being played. And he's lost his patience with it. He's been very clear about this from the beginning. He's created space and time for this to be solved, and now it's time for seeing it come to an end. It's enough of this already. These people have been in captivity now for over a year and a half. These are monsters. It needs to stop. And I wish there were more international pressure along the same lines here. But I'm glad he's putting those statements out. I think he doesn't say these things and not mean it, as folks are finding out around the world. If he says he's going to do something, he'll do it. He'll do it. And so they better take that seriously.
Yep. There you go. So not much pushback from there. Here is the least closeted Trump supporter, Lindsey Graham, giving his response to this tough talk.
Tweet today, release the hostages or you will be destroyed. And that's the kind of leadership we need. So I trust Trump. As long as he's in the room, I'm okay.
All right. What did he say? Shalom, Hamas.
Shalom, which means in South Carolina, we're going to kick your ass if you don't release the hostages.
Thanks for the translation, Senator.
Very funny. Very funny. No, they're not. These aren't Nazis at all. Like this is the difference. I want you to just watch this clip again.
He
tweet
said
today,
to
release
them,
the hostages.
Avita
Right.
It means we are going to kill all of you.
Right. Here we go.
Or you will be destroyed. And that's the kind of leadership we need. So I trust Trump. As long as he's in the room, I'm okay.
All right. What did he say? Shalom, Hamas.
Shalom, which means in South Carolina, we're going to kick your ass if you don't release the hostages.
Thanks for the translation, Senator.
Really funny after tens of thousands of children get killed. This is the difference. What I tell you, this is the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. Democrats can't talk like that about this issue on camera because it offends the sensibilities of their base, right? They will enable the Nazi murder of them. They'll do it.
They'll do it.
But you won't get sound like that.
They'll send Blinken out there to try to simulate human emotion.
Right.
Squinting up his eyes like he's seen people who are not sociopaths do when they're upset.
Right. But you won't see such naked Nazism like that to just come out and on TV just laugh at the mass murder of innocent men, women, and children. So here's a report from antiwar.com. In addition to all of this apocalyptic talk, Israel preparing hell plan for Gaza that would cut electricity and water. Israel is also preparing for the full-scale resumption of its genocidal war within 10 days if Hamas doesn't accept its terms. The Israeli government is preparing a hell plan for the Gaza Strip that would involve cutting all electricity and water to the territory, on top of the blocking of food, fuel, and all other goods that was announced by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli broadcaster Khan has reported. According to The Guardian, the Khan report said that the hell plan would also involve forcing Palestinians in northern Gaza to move to the south to prepare for a resumption of the bombing campaign. Other Israeli media reports say Israel is preparing for a full-scale resumption of its genocidal war if Hamas doesn't accept Israel's terms. Hamas is urging that Israel follow the initial deal under which Phase 2 of the ceasefire was supposed to start already and would have involved a full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. After refusing to engage in talks on the second phase, Israel is trying to get Hamas to agree to an extension of the first phase ceasefire for another 42 days and release more hostages without an Israeli withdrawal, a proposal Israel says was put forward by President Trump's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff. Israel has received widespread condemnation for blocking all aid shipments into Gaza and collectively punishing the civilian population amid the Muslim holy month of Ramadan. But the U.S. has expressed support for the war crime and signed off on the billions in new military aid ahead of Netanyahu's announcement. On Monday, Netanyahu warned things could get worse in Gaza, threatening that if Hamas doesn't release Israeli hostages, there would be consequences that you cannot imagine. An analysis from the Israeli newspaper Haaretz acknowledged that Hamas was unlikely to agree to release more hostages without a long-term peace plan, since the captives are the group's only leverage over Israel. So, once again, what we said, folks, last show remains true. It seems even truer now. Netanyahu is trying to get as many hostages back without committing to a permanent peace. And now they are threatening to blow up the entire deal if they cannot get hostages back without if they cannot get those hostages back, whether a permanent peace is agreed upon or not. So they are in the process of breaking this deal. It's only a matter of when the violence starts again. And the reason why there's a little game of chicken here going on is because Netanyahu needs as many hostages back as possible to save his political ass. Right. But as you can see, the writing is on the wall for what direction this is heading. You have Netanyahu saying that what was the exact quote? It's so ridiculous. Consequences you cannot imagine. That was his promise on October 7th, which is that the enemy will know an unprecedented response. Even as they have cut off aid, they have the backing of the United States. There is no pressure being put on Israel right now to allow humanitarian aid in, which is one of the things I said, just in terms of we're keeping it real. Obviously, the Democrats were going to lead us in this same direction over, I think, a more prolonged period of time. One of the distinctions, one of the reasons why this would have taken a little bit longer under President Kamala Harris is because she probably would have pressured Israel to keep aid going in, which again, that doesn't improve the fate of Gaza, but it prolongs this genocide. Instead, what we're getting is pedal to the metal. You have our blessing to do whatever you want to do. Trump already tried to sabotage the deal once, and now we have here, once again, the writing on the wall that this is heading in the wrong direction, with Donald Trump making just extreme threats of extreme violence. Netanyahu cutting off not only material aid, but now threatening to cut off water and electricity, and of course promising all hell breaking loose if they don't agree to break the deal, because that is ultimately what this is about. Israel wants to break the ceasefire. They want to forget about phase 2 and 3, where we put in place a lasting peace agreement. We just want all the hostages back and trust us not to obliterate you anyway. That's basically what they're asking for. That's what they're insisting on.
Yeah, well, this is why all of the crocodile tears about Ukraine and Putin and the United States not supporting it, it's really perverse at a moment when all of these same powers, England, France, Germany, are not saying a word about violations, clear violations of international law in broad daylight. You cannot cut off food as a weapon of war. You can't. And they are openly doing it. It's not even a question now. They're not even fudging it because they know Trump's got their back. They're not going to feel like they have to send out Blinken to pretend to care in this administration.
Right.
So, yeah, no, they're just openly cutting off food aid. And you have all these people. Do you know what the Ukrainians have been through? And hey, we have no animosity towards the civilian population of Ukraine, or even a lot of these soldiers who have been forced into this position.
No.
But the gross hypocrisy of these world leaders and these commentators talking about atrocities and war crimes in Ukraine, while directly, in many cases, or tacitly supporting a much more clear case of just absolute genocidal intent and clear violation of the rules of war in Israel. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And that hypocrisy obviously extends to a lot of people who want to play up that Trump is trying to get peace in Ukraine while saying, the Palestinians, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? AIPAC owns everybody. What are you going to do? Yeah, he's a revolutionary. Revolutionary.
Please clap.